This is an iPhone 16 Pro. It is fully working, and we're actually going to split the motherboard sandwich and then try to reball it. So let's go ahead and get started with this process. This is just for experimentation to see what the process of these new sandwich boards is like. Should be similar to the previous models, but we don't know until we try it. So hopefully we can all learn something from this. And if you're in the live stream, if you have any questions or want me to check anything specifically, let me know in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this later. Maybe I can check anything further. So first, I am disassembling the phone by unplugging everything. And then the other side, I've already removed the screen. This is the same one I used for my live stream teardown. So yeah, here's what the inside of the housing looks like. Watch my other video if you want to see the actual like teardown process. This was already pretty much torn down. This is what it looks like. Here's the screen, in case you're wondering. And here's the back glass. Also, let me know in the comments how my audio sounds. Never too sure about this. All right, so here's the motherboard. This is a 2-layer sandwich, meaning there's 2 motherboards that are soldered together through this middle interposer, and that's what connects the top and bottom layer. So if you're having an issue with your motherboard, like no service or like weird issues, it could be that the sandwich separated. Really common problem. So let's go under the microscope and take a closer look. Now, one thing I'm not too sure about, I probably should have looked into this, is which side do we have to split it? Because typically there's one side that doesn't split and one side that does. So I guess we'll find out. Also, I don't have the right heat plate for this. I have actually ordered it, but it's gonna take a week or 2 to get here from China. So I guess we'll just do what we can. First, I gotta take off these little foam things because these will melt and make the whole splitting process lots more difficult. Also, it looks like now on this model they added this plastic thing on the side. That's weird. Nice thing so far that I like is there's no 5G flex soldered on the US model. On previous models from 12 and up, there's been a flex soldered on that sticks out, and a lot of people tear that flex. I do see here's the plastic spacer for the SIM slot, which obviously this model does not have one. So, oh, there you go, just pops right off. Oh, interesting. It's like a bracket. Never seen that before. So it's like a bracket for, oh, you know what? So on previous models, the bottom board, here, take a look. This is a 14 series. They just glued a plastic thing here. So it would come off really easy and just slide around. Now they added a bracket so you can clip this in somehow. I don't know the orientation anymore. Yeah, so you could snap it in, and I guess if you're doing a repair, you can just take it off, do the repair, and then put it back at the end. All right, well, that's this is the motherboard. Now, another interesting thing that I'm noticing is this metal bracket. Typically, this is on the bottom board, but also typically the SIM slot is on the bottom board. So which one is the bottom board? Like, where do I split it from? Do I split it? Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to split from down here. As you can see, the solder ball is here, but this one's sealed off. Huh, weird. So that means we're gonna have this giant piece here as part of the top board. Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to split with the NAND and Wi-Fi chips down and all these connectors at the top. Also, I don't even know where the CPU is on this model. So what we got to do is first let you guys know this is a live stream. So if you guys are watching this, great. If not, you're watching this later. So if you guys want to be able to join these live streams, make sure you guys are subscribed and a member of my VIP program or membership, where I post exclusive content and let me turn this on. Do 210 and exclusive live streams. So let's heat this up and see if we can get this sandwich split. 1 second. So like I said, the SIM slot is going to be at the top, NAND at the bottom. As this heats up, I'm going to start feeding it flux. All right, give me a second. All right, so it's at 125. I'm gonna start feeding flux in here. Now I don't, like I said, I don't have the heat plate for this model. So I gotta get creative about this. It's gonna be weird. I have to just go like this so it doesn't move around. Now, I'm expecting this to be high temp solder, meaning it's going to require like 200 plus degrees to split it, versus some of the older models will split at 180 or less. I'm a little worried about this this technique. Let's see. And then I'm going to use a thin spatula tool like this one to try to split it. Essentially, I'm going to stick my tool in between. Let me see if I could no, I was thinking to clamp one of these fingers down on it, but that was tilting the board up. All right, let's give it a few more minutes here while I drink a little bit of coffee. Also, let me check, see if anyone's having trouble joining. So I usually set these at 210, and then depending on how it's behaving, I'll adjust the temperatures. Alright, so we're at 210. I'm going to insert my tool. See if there's any movement. No, this is pretty solid on there. So it's going to be tricky. Let's go under the microscope. I'm using an I2C T20 heater with the blank plate. Now, I could also try grabbing one of the other models and see if it kind of fits. That way I could kind of hold it a little better. Probably should have tried that before I put heat on it. But at this point, I feel like it's been heating enough that it should have split if it was going to. I'm trying to insert my tool. No, I'm not budging at all. So let me use some hot air. So I'm going to use 380 and 50% air on my add-in hot air station. I'm just gonna heat around. I want to get my tool in between the layers. See if I can start separating it. Part of the trick is just kind of push my tool in and see the solder balls are melting and allowing my tool to slide through. There it goes. All right. So here on the bottom right, you should be able to see how my tool is entering. I really wish I had the heat plate for this model. Definitely would make it a lot easier. I'm sacrificing a fully working board just for the science to see what this looks like. Alright, so it's molten and we're in. This is so weird. Alright, I'm going to turn on the fan on this. Let me get, I also have this cool little portable fan. It is a light as well as a fan, which I use for cooling down boards. So let me put this to the side. Oh, I had the wrong camera. So let's cool that down while we look at microscope, under the microscope. So yeah, this is now the the top board. There's this metal bracket for the SIM slot, and then this is the inside. Huh, there's like a little foam thing here. That's weird. First time I've seen that. Alright, this is baseband CPU. This is what controls the cellular function. This is where the IMEI is, and you cannot replace this chip. It is paired to the CPU. So if you try putting another one, it just will never work. Then we have this possibly wireless charging. That looks like a wireless charging chip. This kind of looks like NFC possibly. Usually the NFC chip, like the text is very hard to read. You can sometimes use a UV light You turn off your scope light at the correct angle. Sometimes it works. Yeah, through the scope I can see it actually. Through the camera, not so much. Zoom out, I can see it much better. All right, I don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. Yeah, that's the, oh look, there's a chip here. I didn't notice that earlier. It's weird. So yeah, this is the connector side. There's probably some more cellular chips under here, but I don't know if I'm gonna remove those right now. All right, next up is the bottom. I don't know how to call this, the bottom board. I'll call it the bottom board for now. So this is the main CPU. This is what handles everything. This is what basically has all the value. Let's get rid of that. Thermal paste. Let's clean this up. This is the what, A18? What's the name of the CPU? Let me know in the comments, in the chat. A18 Pro, A17 Pro. They no longer have the branding on here, so this is a thermal paste. So, but yeah, let me see. ST chips. Kind of looks like NFC chips, but they're branded ST. So I don't know if those are NFC. This is CPU, the PMIC, or some people call it Power IC. And that's it. Interesting. I wonder if like the rest of the components are in here, like the charging ICs and stuff. Well, the NAND is here. Another question is, how do you prompt to boot this on your power supply? I have to figure that out. All right, well, this is what the inside of the 16 Pro looks like. Like I said, this is a new weird layout because now the SIM slot side is separated as the single layer, and the CPU side has the interposer and this weird cutout. So it's a interesting design change from previous models. All right, now let's try to reball this back together and see how that works. If you guys have any questions before I do that, or anything you want me to check, let me know. So first step, as far as like a hand reball, is to, hold on, let's lock this in mostly. All right, so I'm gonna turn on my heater to about 100 degrees just to have some residual heat on here. So we gotta add flux. Oh, interesting. I see a solder ball in here. Wonder where that came from. Huh. Well, I see some more people are joining the live stream. So if you're watching live, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Over here it's 9:49 a.m. We're just getting started. I see Central Illinois. Well, let me do this. Let me put the fingers on the actual board to keep it from moving, which is good and bad because it kind of gets in the way. So what we're gonna do is a hand reball, so to speak. I don't know the right, but we're gonna reball this without a stencil in the hopes to re-sandwich it and get it fully working again. Assuming I didn't kill the phone and the original splitting of this board. So I'm putting 183 Celsius solder. This is a Kester 6337, I believe. You want to tin all the pads without getting solder on the edges, because then that will just create a giant blob. I'll also come back and wick these ground rings, just because I don't want a big blob of solder there. What other repairs do you guys want to see on the channel? Either 16 Pro related or anything else. And I'll see if I could do that for next week. We're going to be doing these every Friday, 9 a.m. Because I feel live streams are a lot easier to produce than recording a video, than editing it, and all that. The whole process. The live stream, I just do it and it's done. So I'm doing this by hand because I don't have a stencil yet. I have ordered it from China, but it's still in China. It's still on the way. And I'm just gonna try to reball it by hand and see how that goes. I have a stencil and a what do you call it? A reballing jig, stencil, and a heat plate. But they don't have it for the I2C T20, so I got it for my XZZL 2023 for this one. So I got a heat plate coming for this one because the one I'm using now doesn't have one yet. So we just gotta deal with it. I asked DIY Fix Tool when are they coming out with it, and they said they don't know. So we'll see. I have many videos on my channel showing how to reball it. The most recent one is a 14 Pro Max. I recommend you watch that as far as the best way to reball with the stencil. In this case, we don't have a stencil, so I'm just rubbing solder on here and hoping for the best. So I'm wicking down these ground posts. Typically, these will take up a ton of space. All right. think it should be good. Well, let me actually let me clean the paste, the flux off a little bit. I want to make sure I have a clean working area. The goal was first to get the factory solder removed by running my iron over it. This part, I think I might wick some of these pads. They're a little too thick. See some of these? Well, first let me run a new fresh some fresh flux. See if I can even them out a little better. All right. And then I'll flatten out the ground pads. The little tripod solder joints there are ground. So let me, because what you don't want is those ground pads to be too large, and then the pads around it don't get any solder when you try to squish it back together. So what I'm going to try is to reduce the solder on there. Let's see. If anything, I don't even need the solder on there at all if it's a ground pad. By the way, this wick I'm using, it's amazing. Highly recommend it. It's the Chem wick. It's a really expensive wick, but it works really well. It doesn't fray, as you can see. And some of the other, $5 roll wick. This one was like $30 for a roll. But well worth it. Alright, I think, there's one more. Don't mind my soldering iron, it beeps a lot. Other than the constant beeping, it's a really good iron. There's one more pad here. I'll keep finding more and more. Hold on, let me. Use my polarizer light or lens. I want to pick up. I think that's it. All right, that should be good. Except for this one. All right, let's go with that. All right, let's clean this up again. Does anyone have any questions about the 16 Pro components or board or sandwich? Drop them in the chat or in the comments. Alright, I think I got it all cleaned up. Now let's do the top board. Oh, this has that puffy pad on the top. Let me see if I can remove it. I feel like I'll need to remove this so I can properly heat the board. It's all crumbling. I hate that. I couldn't get it off clean, so now I'll just look at this. Just fine. I mean, it'll achieve the goal of no longer moving around and allowing the heat to spread properly. Yeah, let's try that. We're gonna do the same thing, just add solder, flux and solder all around, and then we'll try to re-sandwich this. Oops. Heater got unplugged. Alright, it's back to 100. I'm kind of debating removing this bracket. Kind of in the way for no reason. Alright, let me get some of this. Solder here. Put some solder there. And then just go all the way around. Try to be careful with the surrounding components. You don't want to accidentally pick up some of those resistors or whatever that are nearby, like these right here. If you just had your blob of iron rub on them, you might pick them up and lose them. And this is a 16 Pro. I don't have a donor to get replacements from. And there's probably no documentation on what those are. So you don't want to lose them. Alright, there's a bunch of resistors here, so be careful with that. Alright, now let's wick some of these ground posts. And then, alright, I'm gonna unplug my heater so I can rotate it so I can reach the areas I need. And flatten those out. Alright. This is the boring part. I mean, a lot of soldering is boring, so. This one's tedious. Alright. Let's see if I could get in on here. Then my heater is getting cold. The solder isn't flowing as nicely anymore. One had a little blob solder bridging the next pin. And that should be good. Let's just clean this up as well. And see if we're able to reball this and get it working. So the main functions I'll look for is cellular, Wi-Fi, Apple Pay. So I'll open up the, oh crap, I didn't do the anchors over here. I guess we could also look for a camera that's not working. A lot of functions. Let me wet these. And you don't have to get 100% of it off. Whatever's left will just flow and kind of even out. Alright, so it should be clean enough for, I mean, it's not perfect. There's a lot of flux left. Maybe I should take off this piece of foam here. That's the first time I've ever seen Apple use foam. I wonder what component this is. I recognize the design, but I don't know what function they are. I think cellular. Interesting, they added foam on cellular chips, assuming that's what they are. Alright, so next step would be essentially prep the bottom board. I'm going to turn my heater back on to 100 so I could put a new layer of flux. Let's give it a second to warm up. And let me check my notifications for anything important. Alright, this is pretty warm, so we want a thin layer of flux. It's not too thin. So we're 42 minutes in. I don't want to go over 1 hour on the live stream. Ideally, we're shooting for 30 minutes, but never pans out that way. Okay. And since we're not reballing, we just kind of ran our iron over it. We're gonna have to squeeze the sandwich together. So I have prepped all that. I'm gonna lay this top board, just eyeball it as far as the alignment. Whoops. Gotta get that out of the way. And then let's align it. So what I like to do is look through the screw hole post. Hold on. You can see the top layer, and underneath you can see the offset. So I like to, hold on, let me move all this stuff. I'm gonna use 2 sets of tweezers. There we go. So now I can see right through the screw post without seeing the bottom layer. Essentially that's the goal. Here I can kind of see the bottom layer in there. So I got to bump my holds there. I shifted it a little bit, and then that's still good. Even this side is pretty good. It's pretty close, so I don't want to keep messing with it and then ruin it. So now we're gonna go back to, let's do 200 heat on the heat plate and see if that will melt the solder. If not, we'll go a little bit higher. And since it's aligned, we don't have to really touch it right now. We just gotta let it heat and kind of just let it fall straight down. Hopefully the board is still good. I didn't have the right heat plate. I don't have the stencil, so we're just kind of winging it. Also, the battery connector for this model is different than all previous models. So I also had to buy a boot cable for it, so I have something to plug in at the battery connector to make troubleshooting much easier. So while this is heating up, let me check a few things over here. All right, it's at 180. All right, 200. Now I gotta see if the solder has molten or melted. So what I'm gonna try is I'm gonna try to bump the top layer and see if it moves. That's the bottom layer with it. I have my tweezer on the opposite side. Oh crap. I shifted it way too much. I was afraid of that. Alright, instead, it still looks pretty aligned. Instead, I'm going to push down in hopes the solder joints make contact. So the solder joints flow together. Let me put a tweezer here at the bottom, and on the top, I'm gonna bump that. I kind of see the bottom board exposed a little bit too much here, so I'm gonna try to slide it up a little bit. Let's try this. That's probably fine, I guess. So as of right now, I can't tell if it's soldered on yet. I was hoping for the solder balls to be molten, so when I, let me see if I could explain it. So basically, when they're molten and the solder balls are liquid, you can bump one board, it'll push away and then snap back. That's kind of what I was hoping for, but it seems like I push it and they both move. So either the solder balls are too small or it's not molten yet. So I raised up the temperature to 210 and alright, it's gonna be tricky. I really don't like the board moving around so much, but I don't think I have many options over here. Oops. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a short. But, at this point, all I can do is just press it down. I mean, it looks pretty aligned right now. So let's do this. Let's turn it off. I'm gonna turn on the the fan. I'm gonna turn on the second fan. And I honestly would not be surprised if I possibly floated the CPU. I wouldn't know. Just the downside to having no stencil, there's no easy way to do all this. Plus, no heat plate. Heat plate helps keep things aligned as you're messing with it. So if this does fail because overheated the CPU, for example, then I could do a CPU reball as a video in the future. So that's an option. Let's give. So right here is the real-time temperature of the board. So I want to wait till under 100 to pull the board out and test it. Let's see. Typically, what I do is I wait till about 100. That will make sure the solder balls are solidified once there, I transfer it to a cold surface like a steel block. This will then help cool down the board basically down to room temperature way faster than keeping it on here. Because if you think about it, this heat plate, this whole thing is like burning hot. So if you keep it on here, you have to wait till everything cools down together down to room temperature. Versus if you isolate the board to something cool, I even have a bigger one here. The steel block is like, you get just touching it, you can feel it's cold. So here, so what I do is I do that, and then let's just get this steel block here. And now the board will cool down even faster while now this also has a fan that is running underneath, so that helps pull away heat from the metal plates, but this will cool down the board even faster. I even will drop ISO to accelerate the cooling. And even if this doesn't work, it was still good to split it, so now we know how to split it. You know, it's a novel way to split this type of design. We saw the kind of the layout of the pads, and then so if you ever do run into one of these, you know you got to be careful with putting too much heat on the bottom. You might float the CPU. The top board has all the connectors for like the cameras, so you know, wireless charging, back glass. So if you have any issues, you know, where the phone was smashed or dropped and you have sandwich separation, pretty much anything that plugs in here can fail because it doesn't connect through the sandwich down to the CPU. And this is now room temperature, so that's good. We can now test it. Well, actually, let's inspect it, because that's gonna be interesting. Well, it looks pretty good to me as far as the gap. The SIM slider is a little sketchy. Yeah, you can see a gap here. Now I probably should have used 138 solder. Yeah, this all looks a little sketchy. Here, let me show you guys a quick little trick to sandwiching stuff like this that maybe didn't. We tried to reball something and it didn't. There's some gaps. You guys see that gap right there? Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see that gap in here. You can see the solder joints are separated by a hair. I'd probably slide a piece of paper in there. So trick is, I get a steel block like this. Somebody's at the door. Oh, FedEx. Alright, it's not important right now. So I get some large tweezers like these. These are large and they are very stable. So I kind of wedge that between there, and then I have something else like the steel block to kind of rest against. So there's like a little kind of platform. And then I use hot air to hit from the side. Now this already has flux, but if you can tell there's no flux, add some. And essentially I kind of just spot treat this area, and then I try to squeeze it together. So just some hot air. You should be able to see the, oh. Now if you can, you put something on the other side as well, so it doesn't fall over like that. But yeah, hot air. Thank you. So just kind of run your hot air along the edge like that, and then I don't think I ever showed this technique before. Never had a situation where I had to show this, so here's also something new you might have not known. So because of that gap, we gotta try to squeeze it back together. Even if you reball it, this also helps. You know, it's a lot easier. Yeah, you can see the solder joints are melting, and now you can see the board is squeezing together. Alright, you can see the gap is now sealed. And then what I do is I let this part cool down so it solidifies and it grabs. And then we can even get the fan again on here. Look, if you let go gently and it doesn't separate, then you're good. If it does, like you let go gently and it starts separating again, then you know it's still molten. And I do see the flux has burned away. So now I'm gonna repeat. I honestly think I probably would have had better success if I used 138 solder. This solder I use is too high temp. But now we use repeats on a different section of the board. And I'm like looking closely at the solder joints in there. It's kind of hard to get this to fit in the camera where I want it, but I see the solder is melting. All right. Turn off the heat, turn on the fan. Oh man, there's a lot of big gaps here. Alright, lesson learned. Use 138 next time. For sure. Also, probably wicking it would have helped too, because if I wick it, I would 100% get rid of all that factory solder. Yeah, there's some like chunk of solder here for no reason. Okay, see that gap? Let me zoom in. Let me see if I can get better light on here. See, there's a few of you on the live stream. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you find some of this valuable. I'm literally destroying a $1,200 phone. Or actually no, how much was it? $1,000? For no reason other than to see what we're gonna deal with in the next 2 years. Because usually, like, it takes about 2 years before you start seeing the latest model. You know, at your repair shop, 1 year to let the warranty run out. Oh, look, it's separated. Basically, 1 year for the warranty to wear out, and another year to really like start seeing them. I still miss, I think I mentioned this all the time, but I still miss the single layer boards. We rarely ever get those nowadays. almost all of them are sandwiches, and most all of them require splitting the sandwich to get to whatever we're trying to repair. So you really have to master this sandwich rework stuff. You know, there's a gap right here. You need to clean up or solve. Probably should add some flux in there too. So I'm just squeezing and then just heating left and right. The goal is to melt the solder in between the sandwich. And there it goes. You gotta keep squeezing it for at least 10 seconds after you put away the heat, so it doesn't separate. Alright, I think we sealed up the sides pretty good as far as I can tell. Hopefully that's all I needed. I'm going to use some ISO here to clean up the sides. I believe this side was sandwiched pretty good. So I'm going to clean that up as well. Let me hit it with the fan a little more. And let me take a sip of coffee. Let this cool down. Alright, I feel like ISO really helps speed up the cooling down. It's non-invasive, and it evaporates, so that's nice. But alright, that's pretty room temperature-ish. Alright, so drop in the chat, do you think this is gonna work? Because I honestly am not sure. I'm just gonna reassemble it. If it boots, we'll test it. If it doesn't boot, we'll call it a day, and then I'll post about what happens later. Maybe if I kind of figure out what the problem is, I'll make a separate video, or maybe save it for when my tools actually get here, so I do everything the right way. So I'm plugging in everything back into the housing. Also, another thing I discovered is that if the only part that causes 3-minute restart on these is the charging port, everything else does not. So that's a good sign. That means less panic log issues like before, where like you'd have all kinds of random parts causing restarting problems. I literally unplugged everything, and only the charging port, when that was unplugged, caused but the weird part is the panic log was different, almost different each time. So there's that. Alright, here's the screen. Also, I really hate the ProxFlex layout. It's really hard to line it up. Hold on. Like a tiny little space. I have a feeling auto repair shops are probably going to damage that. Let's go into the scope because I honestly can't see if I'm doing this right. I think that's in. There it goes. I felt it click. Let's go back over here. Or if I plug in the battery and I hear sizzling, it's not going to be good. Our battery's plugged in. Let me get my charger. It's USB-C, so I have it on my 15 volt charging brick. All right, we have Apple logo. Great, 15 volts, nice. Now the question is it fully functional or is there problems like baseband, Wi-Fi, cameras? So yeah, 15 volts, about 2 amps. We got image so far, we got charging. Oh, I heard it vibrate. All right, it unlocks. Wi-Fi disconnected. Now, does it pull up all the networks? All right, got some. I don't know if that's, there should be more. Cellular. Cellular issue detected. So that's gonna need a Reball. So if you go to general, about, yeah, see modem firmware is missing. So that means there's a baseband cellular issue, typically sandwich separation, parts and service history, camera and display. Unknown parts usually mean there's a problem either with the part or the board. Otherwise, it would have given me the option to calibrate. Battery says good. Cellular issue. Well, now we know what Face ID. Let me see. Let's go test those out. So we know. Oh, crap. Sorry. Yeah, we know cellular doesn't work. Face ID. Why would Face ID not work? Not available. But it pills with my face. That's weird. Maybe sandwich separation also causes Face ID issues. Let's see. Cameras. Oh, look at that. There's only 1x and 2x. There's no, we have 3 cameras. There should be a 3x option. Selfie camera works. Portrait mode work. Doesn't look like it. So yeah, there seems to be an issue. A few issues. What else was it? Weird. Now it's saying configure the display. Before it wasn't. Face ID still exists. Cellular exists. Camera. Well, there you go. This is what kind of issues you will run into. Before, this was fully functional. The parts did say, oh, look at that. It actually restarted too. So that's funny. The Did it die or did it restart? It's restarting. Let's check the panic log. I wonder if sandwich separation will also cause 3-minute restarts, because the charging port flex plugs in on the top board and the CPU is on the bottom board. So definitely I can see how that can cause a problem. Alright, let's check the panic logs. General, no. Go to privacy, analytics and improvements, analytics data, and scroll down to panic full. So today is Friday, November 15th. So, there's no November 15th panic log. These are the ones from when I was testing before. That's weird. Why did it restart? The panic base is also from October. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But for reference, let me show you the panic logs for when you have a charging port issue. Where is it on? It's weird. Well, this is a panic log from not too long ago. I'm pretty sure that's not the charging port. So DCP panic asserts Apple DCP DPTX power controller. No device added after powering on the rails. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty much all these panic logs say the same thing. I wanted to show you what charging port one said, but it's not here anymore. All right, well, I'll have to cover this in the next video on how to properly reball it. Hope you guys will tune into that one. But that's it for today's video. If you guys want to be joining these live streams, make sure you guys become a member. Links down below to my locals community or YouTube community. Essentially, I post the link to this live stream there. So sign up. Make sure you guys are supporting the channel by buying t-shirts as well, and just subscribing, commenting, and sharing these videos. So thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Next Friday, 9 a.m.